This is specifically a park for people to go and go, oh, hee hee, woohoo, ha ha. Welcome back. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 189. Tipiṭaka, part 118, in which I will continue reading Bhikkhunivibhaṅga Pācittiya. Today we're going to be reading 39 and 40, finishing the third group of 10 Pācittiya rules, and then we'll probably read 41 and 42, beginning the next section. Special thanks to the local canine community for providing the background music today. So if this is your first time seeing me, you may wish to click here and start at the beginning of the Tipiṭaka playlist. Basically, we're reading the rules for nuns. The first 100, I don't know, something like that, of the Tipiṭaka were the rules for monks, and now we're in the rules for nuns. And Pācittiya means rules of expiation, which is like a misdemeanor, basically. You know, not treason or high felony or felony, and not as low as an infraction. In other words, it's like a fourth tier out of 5 tiers-ish. Lesser rules, but rules nonetheless. It's interesting to see what the rules are and the stories behind how they came up. If you would like to start at the beginning of the rules for nuns, that's the playlist for you. I will go ahead and get started with the reading. Expiation, Pācittiya 39. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove at the squirrel's feeding place. Now at that time, nuns walked on alms tour during the rains. People, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can these nuns walk on alms tour during the rains, trampling down the crops and grasses, injuring life that is one facultied, bringing many small creatures to destruction. End quote. Nuns heard these people who, 3 dots, spread it about. Those who were modest nuns, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can these nuns, 3 dots, during the rains, 3 dots, bringing many small creatures to destruction, end quote, quote, is it true, as is said, monks, that nuns, 3 dots, during the rains, 3 dots, bringing many small creatures to destruction, end quote, quote, it is true, Lord, end quote. The Enlightened One, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can nuns walk on alms tour during the rains, 3 dots, bringing many small creatures to destruction? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, end parentheses, pleased, 3 dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun should walk on alms tour during the rains, there is an offense of expiation, end quote. So this might bring to mind the question, how do they eat during the rains? What if it's raining for months? And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they are supposed to find a place to stay where they can be provided with food by the people they're staying with. But we'll learn more as we read, no doubt. Whatever means, I promised we'd do the flashback, and I'm a man of my word.
Whatever means, she who is an elder or a junior or one of middle standing, this one on account of relations, on account of birth, on account of name, on account of clan, on account of virtue, on account of the way of living, on account of the field of activity, is called whatever.
Thank you. Me with a different hairdo. Nun means? Nun means she is a nun because she is a beggar for alms. She is a nun because she submits to walking for alms. She is a nun because she is one who wears the patchwork robes. She is a nun by the designation, parentheses, of others, end parentheses. A nun because of her acknowledgement. A nun, parentheses, to whom it was, parentheses, said, quote within quotes, come, nun, end quote within quotes. A nun is one ordained by the three goings to a refuge. A nun is auspicious. A nun is the essential. A nun is a learner. A nun is an adept. A nun is ordained by both complete orders by means of a parentheses formal and parentheses act, at which the motion is put and followed by three proclamations, irreversible and fit to stand. In this way is this nun one who is ordained by both complete orders by means of a parentheses formal and parentheses act, at which the motion was put and followed by three proclamations, irreversible, fit to stand, and this is how nun is to be understood in this case. All right. During the reigns means not having spent the first 3 months or the last 3 months. Okay. Should walk on alms tour means in a village close enough for a cock, parentheses to walk, end parentheses 3 dots, parentheses C37 to 1, end parentheses 3 dots. I didn't feel like translating that part. In what is not a village, in the jungle, there is an offense of expiation. There is no offense if she goes away for 7 days because there is something to be done. If she goes away because she is troubled about something, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. So a nun can leave where she's staying because she's troubled about something. Interesting. But based on previous rules, she shouldn't go alone, right? Okay. Next, expiation, Pācittiya, 40. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove at the squirrels' feeding place. Now at that time, nuns, as before, spent the rains in Rajagaha, the cold weather there, the hot weather there. People, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, the parentheses 4 and parentheses quarters are blocked, confused with nuns. Because of them, the parentheses 4 and parentheses quarters are not seen. End quote. Nuns heard these people who, 3 dots, spread it about. Then these nuns told this matter to the monks. The monks told this matter to the Lord. Then the Lord, on this occasion, in this connection, having given reasoned talk, addressed the monks, saying, quote, because of this, monks, I will lay down a rule of training founded on 10 reasons. Edward, with the different hairdo, would you remind us the 10 reasons?
10 reasons. For the excellence of the order, for the comfort of the order, for the restraint of evil-minded nuns, for the ease of well-behaved nuns, for the restraint of cankers belonging to the here and now, for the combating of cankers belonging to other worlds, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, and parentheses, pleased, for increasing, parentheses, the number of, end parentheses, those who are pleased, for establishing what is verily dawn, for following the rules of restraint.
Thank you, Edward with a different hairdo. Okay. And thus, monks, let the nuns set forth this rule of training. Whatever nun, having kept the reins, should not set out on alms tour, even for, parentheses, a distance of, end parentheses, 5 or 6 yojanas, there is an offense of expiation. End quote. I think it's saying like that they're overcrowding like whatever main square in Rajagaha at the time. Seems to be what's happening. So they should walk further if it's not during the heavy rain. All right. Whatever means, 3 dots. None is to be understood in this case. Having kept the reins means having kept the first 3 months or the last 3 months. If she thinks, quote, I will not set out on alms tour, even for, parentheses, the distance of, end parentheses, 5 or 6 yojanas, end quote, in throwing off the responsibility, there is an offense of expiation. There is no offense if there is an obstacle. If, having looked about for a nun as a companion, she does not get the chance, if she is ill, if there are accidents, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. The 4th division, that on sharing. Sharing. Oh yeah, because they were sharing a blanket and sharing a couch and stuff in the beginning of that group of 10. Okay, well that last rule, okay. It was a little convoluted, but I think we read it, right? At least I read the words on the page, and perhaps when I re-listen to it, it'll be a little more clear. I'll keep reading. Expiation. Pācittiya 41. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, a bold design was made in a picture gallery in King Pācittiya of Kosala's pleasure grove, here being portrayed as Ariel's dad, the King Triton, that's right, King Triton from The Little Mermaid. That's King Pācittiya of Kosala. And he's got a pleasure grove. Oh, there he is. I thought he was here, but he's here. Never mind. Okay. Continuing. Many people went to see the picture gallery. The group of 6 nuns also went to see the picture gallery. People, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can this group of 6 nuns go to see the picture gallery like women householders who enjoy the pleasures of the senses? End quote. Nuns heard these people who, 3 dots, spread it about. Those who were modest nuns, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can this group of 6 nuns go to see the picture gallery, a picture gallery, end quote, 3 dots. Quote, is it true, as is said, monks, that the group of 6 nuns went to see a picture gallery? End quote. Quote, it is true, Lord, end quote. The enlightened one, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can this group of 6 nuns go to see a picture gallery? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, and parentheses, pleased, 3 dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun should go to see a king's pleasure house, or a picture gallery, or a park, or a pleasure grove, or a lotus pond, there is an offense of expiation. End quote. Thank you. Thank you. Interesting. I mean, I guess as I always say, things were different 2,600 years ago. So maybe this is sort of the equivalent of like going to the mall to hang out and have ice cream sundaes and watch a porno movie or something. Going to see a picture gallery, in my mind, that brings to mind a museum, and like a rule against nuns going to a museum seems pretty strict. But back then, the king's pleasure garden and then a lotus pond and picture garden all are listed together really quickly. A lotus pond seems to me in 2023 like a very wholesome activity to do when you're a monk or nun, when you're on the Buddhist path, to go meditate in the lotus, with the lotuses near the lotus pond. But in that day and age, then perhaps, if it was the king's lotus pond, then, maybe that would be decadent, or maybe it'd be more about seeing the beautiful lotuses. Also, important note, this was before Om Mani Padme Hum. This was before the Lotus Sutra by hundreds of years. So I think beginning with the Lotus Sutra onward, I think all the scriptures make reference, and even Padmasambhava, his name means born from the lotus. So there's this tight relationship between the symbol of the lotus and the Dharma, and the spiritual purity, and the 8 auspicious symbols, or the Buddha himself, or enlightenment itself. So that's interesting, that if you're a nun in the ancient order, you're not supposed to go to a lotus garden. Interesting. I guess just thinking about the basic general philosophy of Buddhism in general, for meditation purposes, if you're dependent on a serene environment, beyond, obviously quiet is good for meditation, silence is good. But if you need to go to like a fancy, well-kept place where servants are taking care of the lotuses and stuff, then maybe that's something to be avoided. If you're in this very specific ascetic order when Lord Buddha was still alive. But I can easily see how within a decade, I'm sure that a rule like that wouldn't be so strictly enforced. Because of course you'd go to a lotus pond. If there's a lotus pond around, why not? Sounds like a good place to meditate. Sounds like a good place to have a class, to have the senior bhikkhuni teach the younger ones. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. But so no picture. What is it? Picture galleries, no pleasure groves, no pleasure gardens, and no lotus ponds for you, if you're an old-fashioned nun. Again, if you're a nun today, probably doesn't apply to you. This is about the ancient nuns back in the day. Whatever means 3 dots, nun means 3 dots. King's pleasure house means wherever it is made for a king to amuse himself, to enjoy himself. Picture gallery means, and Lord Buddha, he used to be a prince, so he knows all about royal pleasure gardens, so he's an authority on the subject, I would say. Wherever it is made for people to amuse themselves, to enjoy themselves. That's a picture gallery definition. Same definition as king's pleasure house. Park means wherever it is made for people to amuse themselves, to enjoy themselves. Pleasure grove means wherever it is made for people to amuse themselves, to enjoy themselves. I'm seeing a pattern here. Lotus pond means wherever it is made for people to amuse themselves, to enjoy themselves. Okay. So it's probably a specific usage of the phrase lotus pond, not just a pond where there are lotuses, but like specifically a park for people to go and go, oh, hee hee, woohoo, ha ha, or whatever they do, in those days. All right, if she goes to see, there's an offensive wrongdoing. Standing where she sees, there is an offense of expiation. I mean, maybe the king is like hanging out with his concubines there. It sounds more risque than it sounds, or something. Anyway, having left the region of sight, if she sees again, there is an offense of expiation. If she goes to see one or the other, there is an offense of wrongdoing. Standing where she sees, there is an offense of expiation. Having left the region of sight, if she sees again, there is an offense of expiation. There is no offense if, standing in a monastery, she sees. If she sees, this is a silly idea, but I've seen lotus ponds at monasteries. So maybe they they wanted to have the benefits of a lotus pond without it being the king's pleasure lotus ponds or whatever. If she sees as she is going out or coming in, then there's no offense. Oh, I thought that would be a Pācittiya followed by a Parajika. Just kidding. Never mind. I'm being weird. If she sees having gone out as there is something to be done, if there are accidents, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Okay. Last one for today. Expiation Pācittiya 42. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, nuns made use of a sofa and a divan. What's a divan? I'm sure that I should know what a divan is. Sorry to do this to you, but Editor Edward, would you let us know what a divan is? A divan, Turkish divan, Hindi divan, originally from Kurdish devan, is a piece of couch-like sitting furniture, or in some regions, a box spring-based bed. Here's a photo. Thank you, Editor Edward. I know I can always rely on you. End quote, 3 dots. Quote, is it true, as it is said, monks, that nuns made use of a 3 dots divan? End quote, quote, it is true, Lord, end quote. The enlightened one, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can the nuns make use of a sofa and a divan? Maybe that's what we call an ottoman, since this was before Ottomans, right? We'll see. I don't know, you know, because Editor Edward already told you, but that's in my future. In fact, it's actually me. Never mind. Okay. It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, end parentheses, pleased. I know I'm not yet pleased because I don't know what a divan is. 3 dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun should make use of a sofa or a divan, D-I-V-A-N, divan, there is an offense of expiation. End quote. Whatever means 3 dots, nun means 3 dots. Sofa means it is called of exceeding measure. Okay. Divan means it is made having brought hair stuffing. Stuffing is in parentheses. Should make use of means if she sits down on it or lies down on it, there is an offense of expiation. There is no offense if, having cut down the legs of the sofa, she makes use of it. If, having cut out the hair, parentheses, stuffing, end parentheses, from the divan, she makes use of it. If she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. It makes me wonder if sofa is the right word here. Cutting the legs off a sofa, then you could make use of it. I don't think that they're talking about the same thing that I'm thinking of when they use the word sofa. All right. I will close with that, just to keep it at 4. If I go over 4, then the title ends up starting to look ridiculous. So it already looks pretty ridiculous. But next time, for the people on the main Buddhist Books podcast, you may already know that because the next episode is going to be episode 190, we will not be reading from the Tipiṭaka, but rather we will be reading the life and liberation of this guy right here, Padmasambhava. We do that every 10 episodes, so you can look forward to that. For those of you on the Tipiṭaka playlist or the Tipiṭaka podcast, you won't hear that. The next one you hear will be Tipiṭaka 119, which will be Buddhist Books 191. Okay, I will go ahead and do the usual closing. I hope everybody's doing well. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace.